The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the difference between arrogance and confidence, because I know some people are, oh, I don't want to be confident because I don't want to come across as arrogant. But arrogance, in my opinion, and in my expertise of being, a psychology major, is really about an energetic mismatch. So basically, it's someone who's outwardly performing as though they're very confident, but then something feels off about it, and you're like, oh God, like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like they're just overly cocky or overly arrogant. And typically, it's because they're acting one way, but they're feeling a different way, or it's acting like it's really fake, and there's actually a lot of insecurity underneath it. And so what you're feeling when that person's acting confident, you're feeling that energetic mismatch, and it's coming across as arrogant or cocky. And that's very different than our grounded, true confidence that one would have in yourself. And then I think when we talk about arrogance, we also have to talk about the difference between humility and self-deprecation. So, in the sport of cornhole, I see a lot of cornhole players, when they do well, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm okay, or, I'm not that good. Or a big thing we say in our sport is like, oh, so-and-so carried me to the win. But then you look at the stats and it's very clear that the person who said that they got carried was actually performing really well, but they want to act like they didn't. That's not humility. Humility is owning your own talent. So that's self-deprecation, and that's not helpful either. If you want to be confident, you have to feel true about what you're actually saying and how you're performing and how you're outwardly being confident. So it doesn't come off as arrogance, which is that energetic mismatch. There's some insecurity underneath it. So it needs to be true. And then we need to be, you don't have to boast or brag about yourself. You can just be quiet. That would also, like, being humble is sometimes just being quiet about what you're doing and how you're performing. But it's really about not self-deprecating as well. The other thing I want to cover that I see a lot at, working in the sports industry, working with athletes, is I see a lot of this personalizing outcomes. So let's just say you're playing a sport or you're doing something at work, and something happens that wasn't what you wanted to happen. And instead of saying like, oh man, like that really sucked, that happened, that outcome occurred, that this mistake happened. And as opposed to talking about something that happened outside of us, we'll personalize it. We'll say, ooh, I suck, I'm bad, I'm the worst, I'm not good at this. And that is where we start to get in the way of our confidence building, because we're personalizing outcomes and behaviors as opposed to allowing those just to exist out there, right? Like, yes, that happened and that sucked, but that doesn't mean that you suck or that you're bad. So in sports, somebody in cornhole will miss a shot and they're like, oh, I suck. No, you don't suck because you missed a shot. That just sucked that you missed a shot. And those are two very different things if we're looking at how the brain is going to process that. So it's super important that we don't personalize outcomes and behaviors.